behind enemy lines. All that keeps you from capture or death are your wits and training. For American aviators, this scenario has played out all too often. To give their pilots a fighting chance, the U.S. military puts its aviators through some of the toughest tests it can dish out. Pilots learn to respond instantly to an array of life and death situations. How do you eject from a jet racing at Mach 2? What is the best way to escape from a plane after it has plunged into the sea? And how do you evade an enemy intent on killing you?
Show me your battle plan.
While these aviators are only role-playing now, these are not games. Training their minds as well as their bodies so that this training will become instinct and they will know how to survive. A rescue team scrambles into the air, racing to the site of a plane crash. They hope to pluck an unlucky flyer from hostile territory. On the ground, the downed pilot rushes to cover his tracks and find safety. Running on adrenaline, he relies on his training. Training that has saved the lives of many airmen over the years. Vietnam, January 18, 1969. On a low-altitude observation mission, 2nd Lieutenant William E. Townsley's plane was hit by enemy ground fire. Townsley bailed out only seconds before his crippled plane smashed into the ground.
I pulled the ripcord. I looked up, the chute opened. When I heard the chute open, I heard the plane crash.
While enemy soldiers converged on the wreck, Townsley rushed for the closest hiding place, a 3-foot-high bush.
I just wrapped myself around the base of that bush, basically, and started digging a hole. I had my survival knife. I dug a hole, had a white helmet on, took the white helmet, turned it upside down in the hole, grabbed some dirt, loose dirt, spit on it to rub it on my face to give myself some camouflage.
Townsley relied on survival training similar to the Air Force program SEER, an acronym for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. Today's aviators spend 6 days in dense wilderness near Spokane, Washington. Sergeant and SEER instructor Scott Hansen has trained pilots for 15 years. His students are elite combat aviators, those most likely to find themselves caught behind enemy lines. Hansen teaches them more than just wilderness survival skills. They must also learn how to evade an enemy that is hot on their trail.
It's kind of self-critiquing.
To blend into their surroundings, they learn the art of camouflage. And they acquire the skill of reading terrain and searching for escape routes.
Staying on your headings can be very important, especially during initial movement. And you're going to find concealment. Every time that lead guy stops, everybody else stops. So you look at that lead guy at all times. You're going to stop and you're going to get concealment.
To inject a sense of reality, other SEER instructors follow their trail and might ambush them at any time. The rookies have it driven into their heads that an enemy is stalking them.
All these little new growth trees, if you're walking along and you grab, what if somebody was standing up there and they're looking down? What are they going to see? They're going to see the tree moving back and forth, right? So it's kind of like a flag telling the enemy, hey, I'm over here, come get me.
Footprints across a road could be a deadly giveaway. So trainees learn to sidestep to mislead pursuers.
Once you get to the other side, boom, give a thumbs up to the other guy, that means come across.
to find places to hide and rest. In Vietnam, knowing when to stay put and when to run made all the difference for William Townsley.
2 men walked by my head probably 2 feet away. They did not see me. They just walked and talked and went on by. And of course, my heart's thumping the whole time. I'm ready to shoot them.
Today in survival training, instructors like Scott Hansen show students the best way to find cover.
You want to make sure that it's in the least obvious area. It's not next to roads, it's not next to a stream. So I'm going to be up here. I'm going to enter it from up here. You want to get down, feet first. Put your feet in. Then you're going to bring yourself back in. Any of this disturbed foliage, setting it back up. Making sure you're not creating any trails. And then once you've got it like that, you bring your feet in. And you're good to go.
Escape must be their top priority.
Let's say you're inside your hole-up site. You climbed in there, enemy walks by, and then walk right by your only entrance. There you go. You want to have another way out. You want to have multiple escape routes out of that shelter. That way it's just going to set you up for success.
On the run, humans can go for days without food, but we need water to survive. Finding and getting it can be a risky venture.
Drink water. It's better to ration your sweat, not your water, right?
Pain and hunger can slow a downed aviator, but frustration, fear, and despair are their most dangerous adversaries. Pilots have to keep a clear head at all times. In Vietnam, Townsley contacted his rescuers by radio and had to prove he was American.
You learn the method of authentication. They want to verify who you are on the ground. Training said, cuss a little bit, and you'll get their attention, and they'll understand it because it's very American. So I basically said, you son of me, I'm alive, get my out of here.
If the stranded pilot still has a radio, he tries to guide search and rescue teams to his location. No easy task when the pilot himself may be lost.
Rescue, rescue, rescue. We're going to move to our combat vectoring site. We want this helo to come in and pick us up. We want to get the heck out of here. We want to get back to safety. First thing that we're going to do, doing a combat vector, is you're going to find a spot, right? An open spot where they can either land or they can lower that force penetrator.
Search and rescue teams look for a landmark to guide them in. Captain Al Sunday flies missions for the Army's rescue team.
Normally how we find them is we visually see them, or we see some type of signaling device. If there's an aircraft down, we'll see some wreckage. And so there's a few ways that we can find them. Basically, though, it is mostly all visual. 06 Charlie. If they do have our frequency, they can give us headings into their location using kind of a vector system.
Now he's going to ask for your initial heading. Other questions that he's going to throw in there is, hey, can I land at your location?
Ground fire could bring down a rescue helicopter, so speed and efficiency are essential.
There might be threats, there might be anti-aircraft, artillery, surface-to-air missiles. You want to pick up the survivor quickly, and you want to depart the area as quickly as you can.
On the ground, the aviator calls out his position in relation to the passing helicopter.
When that helo's coming in, he's going to be getting in pretty close. He's about 5 seconds out now. I'm going to give him my countdown. On my mark, I'll be 100 meters at your left door. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark.
Where the terrain is too rough or overgrown for the rescuers to land, they have a backup. It's called a forest penetrator.
It's basically a seat that has small panels that you pull down. You sit on this device and wrap your arms, and there's also a strap that goes around you so that you don't fall off of it.
In Vietnam, William Townsley used a radio and mirror to signal his rescuers.
The helicopter got about 20 feet away from me, but then he started drifting off. And the penetrator was down, and now the enemy knows I'm here. I have to get out on this helicopter. I ran after the penetrator that was dragging along the ground. I was about 10 feet behind it for about 50 yards. Got a hold of the penetrator, pulled the flap down, sat on it, gave them the thumbs up signal, and they got me on board the helicopter.
To this day, Townsley credits his trainers for teaching him the lessons he needed to survive.
And I've often said my instructor was just sitting on my shoulder, whispering in my ear what to do next. It was that fresh in my mind. And I was lucky for that.
But more than luck is needed in many situations, and pilots face numerous life-threatening scenarios. Just getting out of their damaged aircraft can be a tremendous struggle. During the last days of the First Persian Gulf War, training saved Captain Bill Andrews' life.
Being a fighter hit by a SAM or any aircraft is just an incredible shock. It takes you by surprise. I was reeling to try to understand what had happened. I felt a violent explosion with the airplane started to pitch over, pretty much tumble end over end.
Survival hinged on split-second reflexes.
It was just very few moments after my plane was hit. Understand what's happening, figure out, gosh, I'm on fire, I'm going to need to get out. It was a survival instinct.
An instinct born of intense training that begins with learning how to eject from a plane.
This is our ejection seat. It's designed to give a potential aviator a chance to, in real life, get the simulation of an ejection.
At Naval Air Station Pensacola, pilots are taught how to literally fly by the seat of their pants.
Eject, eject, eject!
They hope it's the closest they'll ever come to an actual ejection.
This is about 1/5 of the actual force that a pilot's going to experience if he ever has to take a ride up the rails, or actually in this case, punching out of an aircraft.
The seat is equipped with a redundant set of ejection handles, one overhead, one between the pilot's legs.
Even if you're out of control and you don't know which way is up, you always know where you're at. So if you find your thigh on the inside of your thigh, you slide it down, you hold the ejection handle, give it a pull, and you're gone.
Actual ejections wreak serious damage on the body. Rocketed clear of the aircraft with a force of up to 20 times the pull of gravity, the pilot is then hit with a wind blast equal to 1,200 pounds per square foot, the equivalent of a 1-ton weight hitting him square in the chest. Compressed vertebrae, broken wrists, and black eyes commonly result. In the skies above Iraq, Captain William Andrews ejected from his crippled plane.
I closed my eyes tightly and all of a sudden quiet. Just hear the whistle of the wind going through the parachute. One minute I was going to be going back to my home base, another successful mission, and in one instant I was now hanging above a battlefield, and I knew things were going to be a lot different.
Out of his plane, Andrews now faced the next hurdle. He needed to land safely, which creates a challenge even in training.
69% of our injuries in the Navy from when a pilot bails out or an aircrewman bails out is when they land on the ground, and this is to give them the expertise to prevent injury.
Even with a parachute, aviators can hit the ground at speeds of up to 10 miles per hour.
Ready to go.
Timing even short drops helps them learn how to cushion a landing.
Take your upper body, look the opposite way of the fall, or look at your opposite ankle, and then let yourself fall into your PLF.
Elbows in, eyes on the horizon, jump! Touch those knees, elbows in, eyes on the horizon, jump!
As aviators become more adept at landing, instructors raise the bar again. They simulate an actual parachute drop.
Feet knees together, eyes on horizon, elbows in, a little more. There you go.
The goal is to learn how to absorb the force of a violent impact. And the military has even designed a totally pain-free classroom. Aviators can take a flying leap in the comfort and safety of virtual reality.
You just ejected out of the aircraft. You're 2,500 feet. Want to go ahead and look up?
I have a line over. Clear the line over.
Correct your malfunction on the canopy. It's
Canopy's clear.
Keep it up and land right there on the beach.
Time to turn into wind.
Get in the parachute landing fall position. Feet and knees together, eyes on the horizon. And we touch down. Outstanding.
But no amount of training can stop a pilot from landing in enemy territory, which is what happened to Captain Andrews in Iraq.
Down, saw Iraqis in all different directions. Started turning to see if I could find a clear way away from
And
there.
a will to survive are key to living through any life-threatening situation. At Naval Air Station Pensacola, pilots learn how to handle unforeseen dangers. In a low-pressure chamber, they get a lesson in how quickly conditions can change. Without warning, they are blasted from sea level to the equivalent of 10,000 feet. It recreates what would happen in their cockpits if the body of their plane is breached. Two air masses collide, creating a cloud of condensation. They are then taken to a simulated altitude of 35,000 feet and told to remove their oxygen masks. Without oxygen, they begin to suffer from hypoxia, a condition in which their judgment is blurred and they can eventually lose consciousness. The symptoms of hypoxia start with loss of coordination and giddiness. Ordinary tasks such as children's games become a struggle.
I didn't even realize what was happening to me. I started feeling really happy and really giddy, and it didn't matter to me that I couldn't connect with the person I was trying to play patty cakes with.
This exercise may look silly, but it is deadly serious. Aviators need to keep their wits about them, especially in one of the most dangerous situations, parachuting over water. In training, pilots practice hitting the water. Even if the pilot's knocked unconscious, the vest will automatically inflate a half second after he hits. Parachutes, the very device that just saved their lives, quickly become one of the pilot's greatest hazards. Getting out of the parachute is critical. Strong winds can drag a trapped pilot to his death. To escape from the harness, pilots roll over onto their backs, spread their legs wide to create drag and to slow themselves down, sit up, and release the straps. Finally, they rotate out of their harnesses. When the parachute hits the water, it can quickly become a death trap. In a matter of seconds, it fills with 2 metric tons of water. If a pilot can't free himself, the chute will suffocate him or pull him to the bottom like an egg.
There are a lot of rumors such as follow the scene, things of that nature, which don't really work. Some of the scenes run in circles underneath your parachute.
The next step for aviators is learning how to survive a crash landing into water. In 1988, Lieutenant Commander Liz Steinecker was co-pilot on a routine mission that went dangerously awry.
We experienced difficulty with the navigational equipment, and it took us off course without us knowing about 300 miles. And we started to run out of fuel, and we had to prepare to ditch the aircraft in South China Sea. And I looked out the window, and I started to get upset, and then I just said, I can't lose it now because it's a team effort. So I just pulled myself together and said, we're going to make it through this. We're going to do this.
Seconds later, the plane ran out of fuel and crashed into the sea.
The nose dug into the water, and we actually submerged. And when we submerged, the wings ripped off of the aircraft, and we popped up and started to get out of the aircraft.
Here we go. Take
As part of their training, every naval aviator gets a taste of what it's like to crash land in the water. This is called the Dilbert Dunker.
We didn't know that we were going to be underwater in the aircraft. They prepare you for something that you hope never happens, and unfortunately that particular day it did happen.
Right hand on the stick, left hand on the throttle. Okay, eyes on the horizon, you're flying along and you hear the fire alarm.
We went through the Dilbert Dunker, and you wait to get out of the aircraft till all motion stops, and you don't inflate your life vest inside the aircraft because it could possibly prevent you from getting out. So the training that they give you helps you just to react in a given situation.
A multi-seat Dunker recreates what it's like for larger craft, such as Steineker's plane, to plunge into the waves. Crews are strapped in and made to wear blindfolds. Even in the controlled setting of a swimming pool, the crew quickly becomes disoriented. Underwater and blindfolded, they fight to remain calm and grope for an exit.
The aircraft was filling up with water. I was the last one out of the aircraft, and we were sinking. I would say we probably got out of that aircraft in 10 seconds, but it seemed like an eternity because you go through time deprivation.
And once on the surface, aviators face a new set of challenges: surviving on the hostile sea. With no protection from the elements, exposure and a lack of fresh water quickly take their toll. Today, American flyers are equipped with the most advanced survival gear in history.
The pockets of the vest, you'll find a survival radio. You'll also find a couple of different kinds of flares. There's a small medical kit. There's a couple of bottles of fresh drinking water.
They are also equipped with inflatable rafts.
When you get in the life raft, you have to do an inventory of all your stuff, and you start going through these procedures, and it just came back. It was automatic. It was sit down in the life raft and start taking care of yourself. You drink the water that they have in the survival pack. It was hot. It was sunny. We put sunscreen on immediately so we didn't get sunburned. It also rained several times. It was monsoon season out there, and so we would get drenched with the cold rain, and then the sun would come out and we'd be baking.
Steineker held on through a long, hard ordeal before being picked up by a Vietnamese patrol boat. 8 days after ditching at sea, Steineker and her crewmates returned home. For Steineker and many other stranded aviators, the lessons taught at survival training made all the difference between life and death. They are lessons that airmen hope they never need, but never forget.